पादमङ्गलम् ॐ मङ्गलम् ओंकारमङ्गलम् गुरुमङ्गलं गुरुपादमङ्गलम् ॐ मङ्गलम् ओंकारमङ्गलं गुरुमङ्गलं गुरुपादमङ्गलम् ॐ मङ्गलम् ओंकारमङ्गलम् 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 गुरुमङ्गलं गुरुपादमङ्गलम् ॐ मङ्गलम् ओंकारमङ्गलं गुरुमङ्गलं गुरुपादमङ्गलम् ॐ मङ्गलम् ओंकारमङ्गलं गुरुमङ्गलं गुरु ॐ मङ्गलम् ओंकारमङ्गलम् 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 गुरुमङ्गलं गुरुपादमङ्गलम् गुरुमङ्गलं गुरुपादमङ्गलम् ॐ मङ्गलम् ओंकारमङ्गलं गुरुमङ्गलं गुरुपादमङ्गलम् ॐ मङ्गलम् ओंकारमङ्गलं गुरुमङ्गलं गुरुपादमङ्गलम् ॐ मङ्गलम् ओंकारमङ्गलम् 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 गुरुमङ्गलं गुरुपादमङ्गलम् गुरुमङ्गलं गुरुपादमङ्गलम् ॐ मङ्गलम् ओंकारमङ्गलं गुरुमङ्गलं गुरुपादमङ्गलम् ॐ मङ्गलम् ओंकारमङ्गलं गुरुमङ्गलं गुरु ॐ मङ्गलम् ओंकारमङ्गलम् 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 गुरुमङ्गलं गुरुपादमङ्गलं गुरुमङ्गलं गुरुपादमङ्गलम् ॐ मङ्गलम् ओंकारमङ्गलं गुरुमङ्गलं गुरुपादमङ्गलम् ॐ मङ्गलम् ओंकारमङ्गलं गुरुमङ्गलं गुरुपादमङ्गलम् ॐ मङ्गलम् ओंकारमङ्गलम् ॐ मङ्गलम् ओंकारमङ्गलम् ॐ मङ्गलम् ओंकारमङ्गलम् ॐ मङ्गलम् ओंकारमङ्गलम् गुरुमङ्गलं गुरुपादमङ्गलं गुरुमङ्गलं गुरुपादमङ्गलम् ॐ मङ्गलम् ओंकारमङ्गलं गुरुमङ्गलं गुरुपादमङ्गलं गुरुमङ्गलं गुरुपादमङ्गलं गुरुमङ्गलं गुरुपादमङ्गलम्। बोलिए सर्वेश्वर भगवान की जय। सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत्। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः।
Welcome to Satsang, everyone. I'm going to ask you before we start if people on this side wouldn't mind moving just a little bit in, and everybody can move a little bit up. It just makes it easier as people come in late for them to be able to easily file in that door, and there's automatically already a place for them to sit down. Thanks. So I'll begin with a question or two that has come in advance, and then we'll open it up for any questions that anyone here may have. How do we know that heaven and hell exist? And how do we know that there is a soul which controls us? So there's a lot of concepts here. We'll take them one by one. The way that we know heaven and hell exist is because we experience them. I can't guarantee to you what exists after death, what exists on other realms of existence. But we know that both heaven and hell exist because right here, in this body, in this life, we experience them. I'm sure that if we go around, we will have all had moments during our life of hell. That if I said, okay, I'm going to call on you, don't worry, I won't, but if I said I'm going to, and you all need to give me an example from your life that just felt like utter hell, everyone would be able to do that. And similarly, if I said, okay, I'm going to go around and you all have to give me an example from your life that felt like utter heaven, I would hope sincerely that all of us could do that. Heaven and hell exist here. Whether they also exist in another plane of reality after we've left our bodies is something that religious philosophers have debated for centuries, if not millennia. So we're not going to solve that here in 5 or 7 minutes. What we know is that there's a lot of people, a lot of traditions that teach that they exist. The Hindu tradition is not one of them. The Hindu tradition does not talk about a heaven or hell. We talk about reincarnation and that you keep coming back. And of course, that coming back could certainly feel like heaven or feel like hell based on how we create our reality. So it definitely believes in heaven and hell, but heaven and hell as in right here, right now, with what I am making of my life and of my situation. There's a beautiful quotation that Puja Swamiji shares very, very frequently from when he was a very young child in the jungle. And he asked an elder saint, he said, or actually I take it back, he didn't ask it, somebody else asked it, but he was there listening to the elder saint, what is life? And I'm going to give it in Hindi first because it just rhymes really nicely in Hindi. I'll translate it in English, but it's worth hearing the Hindi if you speak Hindi. And what the saint said was, Bolo jivan kaisa hai? Jaisa bana lo, वैसा है. चाहे इसको स्वर्ग बना लो, चाहे इसको नरक बना लो, बोलो जीवन कैसा है, जैसा बना लो, वैसा है. And it means, what is life? Life is what you make it. Whether you make it hell or whether you make it heaven, that choice is yours. And so we come back to, we know that heaven and hell exist because they exist here. We experience them here. So whether we know what's going to happen after death or not, it's certainly worth being worried about what's happening here. If you want to also be worried about what's going to happen after death in your next life or heaven and hell, by all means, sure. Especially if it's going to make you lead a more virtuous and honest life with integrity, sure. But at least let us pay attention to what's here, rather than put our sole focus on, oh my God, I'm going to go to heaven or hell. What I'm creating here is creating heaven or creating hell. And if I create heaven here, chances are that's what I'm going to experience if you believe in an afterlife or a next life. That's what I'm going to get back. And if I'm creating hell here for myself, for people around me, that's what I'm going to keep experiencing. I'm sorry to interrupt, but can I just ask everyone again to just move a little bit in? Yeah, to this side, that'd be fantastic. Thank you. Thank you so much. So, heaven and hell are right here. And what our question becomes, which is very simple, is, what is different in me when I'm creating heaven versus when I'm creating hell? When I'm creating heaven, I'm creating it out of an awareness of our connection to each other. When I'm creating heaven, I'm creating it out of a vision that is bigger than just what I want, when I want, how I want it. Creating heaven is really a conscious choice. It's a choice that says in every moment, I have an opportunity. I have options. And the options are either to fight, to try to get people to do what I want, when I want, how I want them, to try to mold and maneuver the world to give me what I want. Ultimately, to try to row a boat upstream or swim upstream. That's how to create hell. You sweat a lot, you huff and puff a lot, and you don't get very far. But we can also create heaven. And creating heaven on earth is about recognizing there is something here that is bigger, that is deeper, that is more than just what I want, how I want, when I want it. Because interestingly, that doesn't actually get me very far, even if I get what I want. Even if miraculously I get people to dance according to my tune. I just want something else tomorrow. Something else the next day. Today I want a pair of roller skates. Tomorrow it's a car. The next day it's a house. As we age, as we grow, the desires change. But no fulfillment of desire actually brings happiness. There's an interesting teaching here, which is that when we fulfill desires, or the object of our desire is received, the happiness that we get, the joy that we get from that, is actually not, if we are deep and subtle enough to notice, is actually not from the object of desire itself, but it's actually from the fact that in receiving what I was wanting, for a moment, I'm free of desire. If what I've been desiring is chocolate cake, oh my God, I've got to have some chocolate cake. Somebody get me chocolate cake. I'm going to die without chocolate cake. Oh my God, I need chocolate cake. And finally, I get chocolate cake. Well, the enjoyment, the happiness from that is actually not from the chocolate cake itself. It's actually that as I put that spoonful or forkful of chocolate cake in my mouth, I'm no longer desiring chocolate cake. I'm experiencing, even if it's momentary, a freedom of desire. And on a deep level, that is actually where the joy comes in getting what I wanted. Most of us think, oh, that was great. I wanted chocolate cake. I got it. I was happy. Now I'm not happy. Now I want something else. Now I want a diamond ring. Got it. Was happy, but now I'm not. Well, of course, because the moment of being desireless is very short-lived. Because that's the nature of the mind. Now I want something else. I want something else. I want something else. It's like we say, man mange, more, right? That's, it's a commercial for something. But it's true. The mind just keeps wanting more. But the teaching is very important, which is it's not the object of the desire that has brought me joy. It's the moment of no longer desiring. And so that is actually where heaven is possible. Is in an experience of such fullness and completeness and wholeness in the moment that I'm not desiring. That's where the joy comes in. That's where heaven comes in. And so we have choices in our life. If I've decided that in order to be happy, here's what I need, get out a pen and paper, because it's going to be a list. Here's what I want from the weather. Here's what I want from stock market. Here's what I want from my employers. Here's what I want from my family members. Here's what I want from my bathroom scale. Here's what I want from the people who work for me. here's what I want from our elected officials, right? We've got lists. And if I need that list to be fulfilled in order for me to be happy, I've just created hell. Certainly for myself, and probably for the people around me as well. But if I'm able to experience fullness, doesn't mean I don't have wishes. Doesn't mean that I would rather it not rain on the day that I had a picnic planned. Doesn't mean that I prefer traffic-free streets to traffic-filled streets. Doesn't mean I've become indifferent to the world or apathetic. It simply means that I'm not allowing the lack of anything in the present moment to make me feel anything less than full. There is nothing I need to be full, which means that I'm absolutely able to surrender, to bend, to give in to things that threaten to turn my heaven into hell. We were planning to go for Chinese food for dinner. I like Chinese food. I was already sort of salivating at the idea of Chinese food for dinner. Suddenly the person I'm going with says, no, I've decided it has to be Italian food. Well, I don't like Italian food much. Not nearly as interesting. But if I'm in a place of feeling full and whole and grounded, I'm able to say, okay. Because what I know is that by fighting for my Chinese food, I may end up winning. I may end up actually getting Chinese food. But I've sacrificed heaven for hell. Where the moment, the environment, the relationship could have been heaven, should I agreed to go out for Italian food instead, I've just turned that dinner, or certainly the drive to the dinner, into hell. So every moment we have the opportunity to say, wait, I'm going to choose peace. I'm going to choose happiness. I'm going to choose heaven. And that's in our hands. So we know heaven and hell exist because we literally experience them on a day-to-day basis. And then the second part of the question that said, how do we know that there's a soul controlling us? Well, our soul doesn't control us, actually. Our mind controls us, which is less fortunate. The soul is one with the divine. The soul is oneness, wholeness, eternalness. It would be much nicer and more conducive to living in heaven if I actually were controlled by my soul that knows oneness, that knows fullness, that knows wholeness, that knows stillness, that knows eternity, that knows infinity, that knows divinity, rather than being controlled by my mind that's constantly thinking, what's in it for me? What am I going to get out of it? What's in my best interest? Where's my chocolate cake? Why is it raining on the day I have a picnic planned? That's a much less conducive master to living in heaven. So the soul doesn't control us, the mind controls us. We are soul, though, in terms of content, in terms of essence. But we have a body, and the movements of the body, the actions of the body, which include the thoughts in the brain, end up being the things that bring me karmic fruit. So my body slaps someone. Well, that's because if my hand has slapped someone, you can be sure that's because in my brain there was a thought that said something like, how dare you? Who the hell do you think you are? I'll show you. Something happened in my brain first that led to a series of chemical and electrical reactions, exactly, until we got literally to a hand that got raised and slapped someone. Based on that slap, I'm now going to suffer the repercussions. We call that the fruits of karma. That's what controls me. The soul just is. The soul is waiting for us to recognize it. The soul is waiting for us to understand that that's who we are and to stop suffocating it with more and more titles and degrees and roles and desires and fears and attachments and things that just keep suffocating it more and more. So if we can relinquish the games of the mind, we have an opportunity to experience the soul. And that's where our spiritual practice comes in. It's where our thoughts come in. Our spiritual practice is what tends to influence and impact my thoughts. This is why we meditate. Not just to have 15 or 20 or 120 minutes a day of that connection, but so that it will change me for the rest of my day. That's what meditation does, is the ripple impact of meditation changes who I am when I walk out of meditation. And so it changes the thoughts that we have. So instead of thinking, who the hell do you think you are? I'll show you, I'm so angry, that then leads to a slap. The mind says, oh no, you must have had a really bad day. Wow, you must really be in pain. Because whatever it is that you've done that's made me so irate has clearly been done from a place of pain in you. It's clearly been done from a place of fear in you, of ignorance in you, of longing in you. That's the only reason we hurt people. And so my spiritual practice changes the thoughts that I have. And when our thoughts change, our actions change. And our actions change, our destiny changes. So that's what's so important about it. And then if we want to create heaven, we have the ability. Our own thoughts are the only thing that keep us out of heaven. Otherwise, regardless of what situation you're in. And again, I know this only because if you look at history, if you look at the mystics, the sages, the saints, even just incredibly inspiring leaders throughout history of every religion, they have been in horrendous situations. But what makes them and their legacy and their teachings live on for hundreds or thousands of years is that instead of having thoughts of, oh my God, this is really hell, this isn't fair, I hate you all, why is this happening, this shouldn't happen. Instead of that, they have thoughts of things like, forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do. They have thoughts like that. And thoughts like that, in moments like that, are the stuff that may not get us out of the physical situation we may be in, but they are what enable us to know that the thinker of those thoughts is living in a place of heaven. And that's up to all of us. And we've got inspiration from, again, so many people of so many different religions and walks of life and situations. So if you ever feel like my situation is absolutely hell and there is no way to think of it any different, compare yourself to someone like Anne Frank. Compare yourself to so many historical people who have left us with just legacies of hope, of inspiration, of divine connection in situations that really, by God's grace, none of us, thankfully, are having to live in. But they stand as models of the possibility of what our own mind can create, even in the midst of what surely, on an objective level, if we had to agree on what hell would look like, that in the midst of that, there is still the possibility of heaven, which means that in our situations, in our family dramas or workplace dramas, neighbor dramas, life dramas, not to undermine them in any way, but just to help us put them in perspective. Remember, there's always a possibility to find that heaven within and to create it. And again, it may not change the people around you. Most of the time it does. The examples I've given have been examples where it didn't in their lifetime. But it has certainly changed people in later lifetimes. But most of the time when you create heaven in your mind, it actually ripples and it actually ends up creating heaven for those around you. And what you do is you create a space in which other people can also live in heaven. And that's slowly how, through a ripple effect, through opening ourselves up to the possibility that there actually is something greater than just getting what I want. That there's actually a greater heaven than Amazon or a shopping center or, there's something bigger than that. But I have to sacrifice my attachment to finding heaven in those ways. And when I do, not only do I find heaven within myself, but again, I create that space into which other people can also find it. Because when I say, okay, honey, no problem, Italian it is, that impacts people. They know. They know I don't like Italian food. Maybe they were expecting me to put up a fight for Chinese. But when I don't, and when I don't with love, the impact is much more than just a nice dinner. It actually changes the people we live with. Wow. Okay. And then their way of thinking changes. And then they impact people. And we actually all end up becoming these manufacturers of heaven. And we may only be able to manufacture it on this scale for now, but slowly, the impact is huge and the ripple is huge. So whatever happens after death, we will find out then. But at least for now, with what we have in our hands, let's create heaven here. Before taking any of the other questions in advance, I'm happy to open it up to any questions that are here. Yes. Yes. Yeah. Okay, great question. So, if we're all one, if there is no separation and we're all one, why do I crave solitude so much? Why do I want to get away from a loving family, a loving partner even, and just be alone? Because although we are all one, at the highest and deepest and truest level, that's not how most of the world works. And so most of our interactions in the world are constantly bringing us out of oneness and into separation, out of soulness and into bodiness. And so when you are on a deep spiritual path, that yearning is to live as soul, to live as truth. And if you're constantly in a situation where someone is, saying to you, oh my God, you're such a mess. Why did you dump your clothes on the floor again? And why didn't you do this? And you'll never learn. Even if we love the person who's saying it, what it's doing is it's creating a reaction within us. Defensiveness, maybe offensiveness, maybe we feel badly, maybe we get upset, whatever it may be, but it's pulled us right back into drama. Into a drama of who's going to do the dishes, a drama of whether my room is clean or not, a drama of being the perfect daughter or daughter-in-law or the perfect wife. And when I'm looking to live as soul, that soul is craving expansion. That soul is craving breaking the borders and the boundaries and the walls of roles. And so, I'm going to crave solitude so that I can just melt and merge into the world. But you won't necessarily need it forever. My advice to you would be, when that's what you're craving, give it to yourself. It's a deep spiritual longing. Give it to yourself. Not as a way to run away. So make sure, this is really important in our lives, there's two different ways to go anywhere. Either by heading towards something, or by pushing away where we were. You end up in the same place either way, physically. But the experience of being there and the karmic package of being there are completely opposites. So one way is, I can't stand you, I hate you, you're driving me crazy, this whole thing is making me nuts, I've got to get out of here anywhere other than here. That's pushing away. Another way is, this is all fine here. Nothing wrong with it over here. It's normal. But from deep within, there is a yearning for that solitude, or for whatever that other place may be. Not because I'm pushing this away, not because this is driving me nuts, not because I'm fed up or tired or it's too much of a challenge, but from a very, very deep place in me, I'm being pulled almost as if by a magnet to this place over there. When that happens, when the latter happens, the second situation, do it. When it's the first situation, don't do it. Because the first situation, all you're doing is running away. all you're doing is saying, I can't handle the present reality. And whether you run away by changing physical locations, whether you run away by getting drunk, whether you run away by turning yourself off, in all of these circumstances, you're just running away. And the goal of life is not about running from things. The goal of life is, how can I expand my sense of self in such a way that there's room in here for the nagging mother or mother-in-law. There's room in here to play this role. There's room in here for that. And there's room for my spiritual truth. But sometimes in order to get there, I need to go somewhere first. This is, as I was saying the other night, about coming to ashrams, why people have traditionally come even when they're going to go back. So what I would say is, if when you're being yelled at or when you're being told what to do, there's a voice in your head that's like, oh my God, I just need silence, I would look instead at how we can actually work with the family to make it more of a conducive situation. But if in the midst of a family situation that's relatively calm and peaceful and good, there's a magnetic pull toward solitude, I'd say go with that. Go for a week. Go for 10 days. Go for 2 weeks and see. Interestingly, the solitude and the quiet that we most crave is one in the mind, of course. Not so much in the physical body, but in the mind. And sometimes a short break away can actually help you find that stillness and quiet in the mind enough that you're able to go back into a situation and still experience it. But don't feel badly. That's the soul's yearning for itself. To be free of the roles, to be free of the drama, to be free of all that, and to just be able to merge into oneness. So it's a very, very beautiful urge. Don't worry about it. Yeah. Yes.
The spiritual discourses have been there for centuries, like you said, millennia of thought. All civilizations have experienced them, all religions have taught them. But I think there is also a very massive counter force in the universe that prevents people from being that.
Yes.
And that's like superimposing as compared to the one that enables towards. Why is this disparity?
Okay. So there have been spiritual discourses, spiritual teachings, spiritual teachers for at least centuries, if not millennia. He said, but then there's this other force that prevents us from actually doing what we've learned, doing what we've been taught, doing what we've been told. Why is that force so much stronger than the force of the teachings from the spiritual leaders? It's not that one is stronger than the other, it's that one of them is louder than the other. One of them is more prevalent than the other in terms simply of our attention. The voice of ego, the voice of darkness, the voice of ignorance, the voice of, I just want to, make a lot of money, have a good job, do this, do that, whatever it may be. I want what I want, how I want it, when I want it. That voice is very loud because it's coming at me right by my ears. It's coming at me right from my mind, from my brain, very, very, right there. And it's loud, it's yelling in my head. It's also being constantly reinforced by the world around me. So I drive down the road and there's billboards that are constantly reminding me my youth is over, but they're perfectly happy to sell me an, age-defying, whether it's a car or a cream or whatever it may be, to remind me time is running out, your youth is over. There's billboards that are constantly telling me, think for yourself, you deserve it. Have a $700 handbag, you're worth it, right? It's called marketing. And I have no idea whether it's good or not good at selling handbags, but it's very good at brainwashing us into cultural values. So we may not buy the bag, but we buy the basic tagline, which is, I should have it. I'm worth it. I deserve it. Now it all becomes about getting what I think I should have, what I think I'm worth, what I think I deserve. And it keeps focusing our entire attention outward, outward, outward. With all the blinking lights. This is the world outside. And inside us, there's that quiet voice. That in order to hear, we have to be quiet. The saints tend not to shout. They tend not to come with lots of glitter. Not a lot of neon signs. Meditate, 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 right? I mean, maybe we should. Maybe if I won the lottery or something, I'd put, neon signs everywhere that said meditate. But at the moment, we don't have that. And what we've got is so much noise, literal noise, and brain noise, focusing us outward, leading us into separation, leading us into literally living hell. Hell doesn't begin overnight. It's not like I wake up one morning and I say, things have been good for too long. I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to start creating hell in my life. Nobody thinks like that. It begins very subtly, begins with a desire, an urge, some anger. It's a thought. It always begins as a thought. And then I have a rationalization that goes along with the thought. Yeah, of course it's okay to cheat on him. He'll never know. And anyway, he works too much all the time. If he were, if he cared about me, he'd come home on time, for God's sakes. Hasn't brought flowers or chocolates in years. He's basically begging me to have an affair, right? Yeah. So we start rationalizing. Then, once the mind is set, we go out and we act. And the act has its repercussions. And those repercussions lead to my hell. But if I'm still not properly introspective, I'm going to lash out even at those repercussions. So I have the affair. He finds out. He's furious. I get furious. I slap him. I mean, who knows? I'm just making up a drama. But the point being that it happens incrementally. I'm dissatisfied with my life. There's something that's not quite right in my life. I don't have what I want. I don't feel like I belong. I'm lonely. I see a YouTube video. The YouTube video is a very charismatic leader telling me that my life is worth more than I'm spending it on, that I can be a soldier in the God's army. I can help rid the world of infidels. I can go down in history as a hero and have God welcome me into his love. Well, that sounds a lot better than my mundane existence. I call the number listed in the YouTube video. Fast forward a few years, there I am cutting somebody's head off in some terrorism. But I didn't wake up one day and say, I know, I'm going to become a terrorist. And so it's all incremental. And it's all based on marketing. Sadly, because it gets really insidious, much worse than selling handbags. But our brains are attuned to believing that because we have spent our lives inundated by billboards trying to sell us everything and commercials trying to sell us everything. And so that's how we slowly start listening to that. In order to hear the voice of truth, I actually have to be quiet. And that's why it seems like it's a weaker voice. It's not weaker at all. It's just quieter. Tends to be more patient. It doesn't have the same frenetic energy that the voice of desire, that the voice of passion, that the voice, all of that has. It understands, if not this life, next life. We have all the time in the world. Whereas the voices of, gotta get it now, time is running out, scarcity, all of that, they're very loud, they're very frenetic. And so it pulls us all in the wrong direction. Of course. Before you do, can we just get people to move a little bit more this way? Thanks. Coming in, so just gonna, if we move a little bit this way. Thank you. Yes. I don't actually agree. I don't think the spiritual life is more difficult at all. I actually think that the non-spiritual life is more difficult because you're constantly having to go against your own true nature. In a spiritual life, you're actually living in alignment with your own true self and your own true nature. In a non-spiritual life, you're having to constantly go against the truth of who you are. But the only thing that makes it easier is there's lots of accessories to go with it. A deep spiritual life doesn't have a lot of accessories. There's not things that you can buy to feel like, a good spiritual person. Once you've got something to sit on to meditate, you're kind of already fully accessorized. But the non-spiritual life offers so many different ways to constantly accessorize ourselves. You want to be that role? Okay, great. Here's what you wear. Here's your jewelry. Here are the lines you say. Here are the places you go. Here's how you shop. Here's what face cream you use. You want to be this? Well, here's where you shop, and here's what you look like, and here's where you vacation. So it's just a lot louder. It's a lot more in your face, but it's actually a lot more difficult because it's pulling us away from the truth. So in order to go with that path, we have to be fully prepared to close ourselves off to that inner voice. Yeah. Yes. Of course.
Always telling her, no, this is not good for you, you should be doing that. Or this playing is not the best idea, you have to study and you should get your grades, etc. So, I mean, most of us are doing that.
Yes, of course, of course.
So to get into all the access,
Of course. Well,
what do I do and how do I make her learn to balance her, I balance my role as well?
first of all, being spiritual doesn't mean that you don't have things. So that's an important clarification. Listening to the inner voice within does not mean that we never shop. It doesn't mean that we don't buy clothes or have a car or go on vacation or do all the things. So there's no spiritual injunction against having toys or playing. It all has to do with focus, and it has to do with what I'm looking for in those things. Am I looking for utility in them? This is a good sweater. Or am I looking for my own sense of self in them? In that sweater, I feel beautiful. Therefore, I feel worthy of occupying my place on earth. It's not the sweater that's the problem. It's what I'm looking for in the sweater. And so what I would do with children is, sure, buy them toys. Why not if you have the money? There's nothing wrong with toys. But don't buy them everything they want. Let them learn how to self-soothe when things don't go their way. That's a very important task. Typically with parents, where we go wrong, we try to go right, but where we go wrong is we say, no, you can't have it. Then they start screaming and crying. We still say, no, they can't have it. Then they throw this complete temper tantrum. We are convinced that they're going to, basically stop breathing. And finally we say, either because we're embarrassed in the store, or because they've said something that has hit us so deeply. I hate you. You're the worst mother in the world. They've said something that has just stung so badly that we give in. And the problem with that is, what we have taught our child is, push hard enough, get mean enough, have enough of a fit, and the world will do what you want. And unfortunately, that isn't actually how the world works. And so what ends up happening is they grow up as people who throw fits. Because on a deep unconscious level, they believe that if they just throw enough of a fit, or they get mean enough, they're going to get what they want. So even though it feels nice in the moment, and then they say, oh, I love you, Mom, you're the best, and we feel good, and they feel good, and it seems like crisis averted. We've actually created a really negative pattern for them. And so it's really important, and feel free to be honest with them, to say, sweetheart, I am not buying this for you on purpose. You need to learn that you cannot have every single thing that you want. Because that's not how the world works. There are going to be days you've got a picnic planned, it rains. There are going to be days that you want something, you can't have it. And you need to learn that. But what you really need to learn is that you have the ability to be happy regardless of what you get. And that's the lesson. So I'm not going to buy you the toy, but let's go to the park. Let's just spend some mom and daughter time. Let's cuddle. Let's draw. Give her a way to experience joy in that moment that has nothing to do with buying something she wants. Let her understand that she has the capacity inside to find joy, even without that thing that she thinks she's going to go crazy if she doesn't get. And then with regard to playing and studying, this is not so much about things of the world as about fulfilling our duty. We have a duty to live our lives sincerely. That whatever we do, we must do it sincerely. And that means doing it the best that we can. And at the moment, she's a student. And she therefore has a duty to be the best student she can be. If at the age of 18, when she's no longer legally under your control, if she wants to stop being a student, she's welcome to stop being a student. But at the moment, she is a student. And what that means is that she has a duty to do that to the best of her ability. And that's the same thing with our jobs. If you don't like your job, get a new job. But whatever your job you're in, you have a duty to do it to the absolute best of your ability, to do it with the fullest sincerity. Or you're not fulfilling, we talk about not fulfilling our potential. And the potential is not so much about what I'm doing, it's about how I'm doing it. And so help her understand that in life, she's going to have duties. At the moment, it's to be a student. It's also to be a daughter, which may include things like keeping her room clean. It might include helping with dishes. It might include setting the table. It might include any one of a number of chores that are her duty in the family. She'll have different duties as her age expands. But it's really important to understand that we have duties. And of course we have free will. Don't like the duties in your job? Change the job. Don't like the duties in the family you've married into? Leave. Again, not saying I think that's a great idea, but you have free will. But to stay in a situation and complain about it or grumble about it or sabotage it or sabotage yourself or do a half-hearted hard job or not do it at all doesn't actually benefit anybody. So help her understand that. And that will be very, very good throughout her life. But of course, make sure she has time to play. And this is actually a great rule for all of us in our lives, which is we all need time to do things that are just playful. Whatever it may be, whatever our entertainment or joy comes from, we all need to make time to do that. The problem with how most of us live, which is where you get so much anxiety and depression, is we don't actually schedule that time. Because when that time comes, we've got so many things to do that we feel horrendously guilty. Oh my God, I can't take 2 hours off and go dance or do yoga or play in the park or paint or whatever I like to do. So I don't take the time off and I keep doing things I'm supposed to do. But I do them all so grudgingly and so half-heartedly, and I'm checking my Facebook every 30 seconds, and I'm, that I'm actually not getting done what needs to get done, which means that I'm actually taking longer to do things than if I would just buckle down and do them. And I'm not having my time of doing things that are my playtime. And so whether you're 9 or 39 or 79 or however old we are, it's really helpful to schedule in time, if not every day, at least every week, that is just playtime. This is when I paint. It's when I make music. It's when I go to the park. It's when I, whatever. I read a book just for pleasure. I'm not going to learn anything. I read a novel. I listen to music and just sit in my couch and drink tea and listen to music. Whatever it may be. But schedule that time so that it's very clear that the rest of the time is not playtime. Because when we don't have any playtime in our life, then we move through our lives grudgingly. And so make sure that she has playtime and that she clearly understands, and it may be a really good idea, make her a timetable. Here's what time we get up, we have breakfast, we go to school, here's our homework time, here's our playtime. So she knows. And regardless of what exam is coming up the next day, regardless of anything, she should be permitted to play in her playtime. Because really, at 9, it just doesn't matter that much. I mean, seriously, if she were 17, it would be a slightly different situation. But at 9, just make sure that she knows her play hours are sacred. Such that the moment her play hour is over, if she knows that you respect when she gets to go play, she will learn to respect when you yell out the window that it's time for her to come in because her playtime is over. And that'll be, again, a great lesson for her whole life. Yeah, I'm going to let you say them, but I think we're going to start tomorrow with them. Yes. Into conscious thinking. Okay, we will start with that tomorrow, and then we'll take yours, So tomorrow we'll begin with these three questions. And for tonight, have a wonderful rest of your evening, and look forward to seeing you all tomorrow.